In the heart of South Africa, beneath the vast skies and endless plains, there lived a young girl named Palesa. She was from the village of Mtata, where life was simple and time moved slowly, like the gentle flow of a river. Mthatha, named after the great chief of the Xhosa people, was a place full of stories, songs and rituals passed down from ancestors. The air was thick with the smell of the wild of herbs and rain, and the sounds of the drum that echoed during celebrations. It was a community built on unity, respect and tradition. But Palesa, despite her beauty in spirit and heart, felt like she was invisible. She was the youngest daughter of Nandi and Themba, both respected elders in the village. Her father, Themba, was a proud man who had inherited the wisdom of his ancestors, a respected farmer who cultivated the land with patience and love. Her mother, Nandi, was a village leader, known for her knowledge of herbs, remedies, and ancient wisdom. Palesa grew up surrounded by love and care, with elders who cherished the old ways and told stories about ancestors who walked the earth long before her. Yes, no matter how much love her family showed on her, Palesa couldn't shake the feelings of being unnoticed. In the village of Mtata, beauty was celebrated. Women celebrated their finest beads and garments, and their faces were adorned with beautiful paints made from the earth. They walked with grace, heads held high, the beauty a reflection of life they held. There was a strong belief that a woman's outward beauty reflected her inner spirit, and it was said that the more beautiful a woman was, the more she was valued in society. But for Palesa, beauty was always elusive. She was plain, tall, and slender, but with sharp features that made her blend into the background. Her skin was a deep shade of brown, but it lacked the glow that some of the village girls possessed. Her eyes, dark and full of curiosity, never shone with the sparkle that others seemed to have naturally. Her lips were full, but not as soft and inviting as those of her peers. It wasn't that Palesa was ugly, far from it, but in a world that celebrated beauty so openly, she often felt invisible, as though her looks didn't match the vibrance of her soul. Early morning, Palesa would stand before the small cracked mirror in the family's hut, brushing her long dark hair, wondering why she was not as beautiful as the other girls. She would watch as they walked past her, their bodies adorned with beads and feathers, their laughters echoing through the air as they gathered the attention of the men. Palesa's heart ached with envy. She wanted that attention, that admiration. She wanted to feel as if she mattered. She often asked her mother why she was not as beautiful as the other girls in the village. Nandi, with her eyes and soft voice, would always reply, "Beauty, my child, is not just what you see, it is what is inside of you. The beauty of your heart, the kindness in your hands, and the strength in your spirit, these are the things that truly matter." But Palesa could not see the truth in her mother's word. She felt that no one truly saw her for who she was. No one truly appreciated her. She could help her mother with the healing herbs, she could fetch water from the river with the grace of gazelle, and she could listen to the elders with the patience of a wild soul. But none of that brought her the attention she longed for. She was invisible to those who mattered most to her, especially to the young men in the village. There was one man in particular, Lita, who Palesa admired from afar. Lita was the son of the village chief, a tall and handsome man who had already been chosen by many of the village girls to be their future husbands. His eyes were bright and full of life, his skin the color of dark mahogany, his hair thick and coily. He was the kind of man that made the head stop turning when he passed. Every woman in the village, from the youngest maiden to the oldest grandmother, was drawn to him. But Palesa felt invisible to him. He never looked her way, never seemed to notice the way her heart beat faster whenever he was near. One day, while walking to the market with her mother, Palesa overheard a conversation between some of the other girls. They were gossiping about Lita, as they always did, and one of them remarked, "Lita will never choose someone like Palesa. She is too plain. He is always after the ones with beauty, the one who catches eye." The words stung, but they also made her heart harden. She didn't want to be plain anymore. She didn't want to be ignored. She wanted to be the one that Lita looked at with admiration, the one who held the power of beauty in her hands. She wanted to feel seen. That evening, as the village gathered around the fire to share stories and song, Palesa's heart was heavy with thoughts of her own inadequacies. She sat quietly, listening to the laughter of the elders, watching the way the flames danced in the night. The elders told stories of the spirits of the land, of ancestors who watched over them and blessed them with strength. But Palesa didn't feel the strength that came from her ancestors. She only felt the ache of longing. After the fire had died down and others had retired to their hut, Palesa lingered outside, staring at the stars. She had heard stories from her elders about a powerful spirit that lived deep in the forest, a spirit that could grant any wish. It was said that the spirit could make a woman beautiful beyond compare, could make her the most desired in the land. Palesa had heard whispers of the spirit's power, though no one spoke of it openly. They said it was dangerous to seek out the spirit, for it would ask for a heavy price in return. But Palesa was desperate anyway. She was willing to pay any price to be seen, to be loved, and to be admired. She had to find the spirit. As the night wrapped itself around her, Palesa made a decision. Tomorrow she would leave the village and search for the spirit. She would make the sacrifice. She would trade whatever it took to finally be beautiful, to no longer feel invisible. She would find the spirit and make her wish. And so, with the rising sun, Palesa packed a small bundle of belongings and set off on her journey into the forest. Unaware of the darkness that would follow, she didn't know that the spirit who had the power to change her life also had the power to take everything from her. She was about to trade something far greater than beauty. She was about to trade her soul. The forest was dark and quiet. The trees stood tall, their branches twisting together like fingers holding hands, blocking out much of the sunlight. Palesa walked slowly, her feet crunching on the dry leaves as she made her way deeper into the forest. She had been walking for hours, her heart racing with a mix of fear and excitement. She had heard the stories, the old legends that spoke of a spirit who lived in the heart of the forest. These spirits could make her beautiful, just like the village girls she admired, the ones who turned every head when they passed. Palesa had always felt invisible, never noticed, never chosen. But now she was determined. She was ready to find her spirit and do whatever it took to be seen. As she walked on, the forest seemed to grow quieter. The birds had stopped singing and even the wind had calmed down. Her footsteps echoed around her, and for the moment she almost felt as if she was the only one left in the world. But then she saw something, a soft light shining through the trees. It wasn't like the sunlight she had been following. The light was different, almost as if it was calling her. She followed the light until she reached a small clearing. In the middle of the clearing stood a huge tree. Its branches stretched high above her arms, reaching for the sky. At the base of the tree, there sat a figure. It was hard to make out the details, but there was something about the figure that made Palesa's heart beat faster. The figure didn't seem like a person. It seemed otherworldly, as if it didn't belong to this world at all. The figure's voices cut through the silence. You seek beauty, don't you? Palesa's mouth went dry. She had found the spirit. Her voices trembled as she answered, Yes, I want to be beautiful. I want to be seen, to be noticed. I would do anything for that. The figure didn't move, but its eyes seemed to glow, watching her closely. Anything you say? Beauty comes with a price. If I grant you your wish, you must give up your voice. You will never speak again. Your beauty will be the only thing people see. Palesa felt a shiver down her spine. She had heard stories of the price one must pay for beauty, but she hadn't really believed them. She had imagined that the spirit would give her the beauty she longed for without asking for anything in return. But now she had to make a choice. She thought of her mother's voice, her father's laughter, the songs the women sang in the village. Could she really give up her voice? But then she thought of Lita. She thought of the way he smiled at the other girls, the way he didn't even look at her. She wanted to be noticed, to be admired, to be wanted. I agree, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The spirit's smile stretched across its face. It is done. Before Palesa could react, a sharp pain shot through her throat. She gasped, her hands flying up to clutch her neck. But the pain was gone almost as soon as it had started. When she tried to speak, nothing came out. Her mouth moved, but there was no sound. Panic gripped her chest as she tried again and again, but still she was silent. She turned to the spirits, her eyes wide with fear. She tried to beg, tried to plead, but no words came, only silence. The spirit's eye glowed with a knowing look. Your beauty will be your language now. You will be seen by all, but you never speak again. Remember, beauty is all you wanted. The forest seemed to grow darker, the weight of Palesa's decision heavy on her shoulders. She wanted to scream, to run back to the village and undo everything, but she couldn't. The spirit was gone, vanished into the shadows of the tree, leaving Palesa alone with her silence. Back in the village, the news of Palesa's sudden transformation spread quickly. The moment she returned, the villagers grabbed in her. Palesa was beautiful. Her skin shone like polished bronze, her eyes sparkled with an almost magical glow, and her body seemed to have the grace of the wind itself.